Have you ever held a newborn in your arms and just marveled at how tiny and perfect they are? Their soft cheeks, little hands, that steady rhythm of their breathing, it's pure magic. But along with that beauty comes a lot of worry, especially when it comes to sleep. Whether you're a grandparent helping out with a new baby, a relative giving advice, or just someone who's been through it before and now finds yourself helping the next generation, you know that sleep is a big deal. For babies, and for everyone caring for them. Now, sleep might seem like such a simple thing. You're tired, you close your eyes, you rest. But for babies, it's a whole different story. It's not just about getting some shut-eye, it's about growth, development, and building the foundation for good health. And here's the thing that surprises a lot of new parents. It's very easy to make small mistakes during a baby's sleep routine that can actually have a long-term impact. That's why today, we're going to gently walk through a few of those common missteps, not to make anyone feel bad, but to help. Because when you know better, you do better. And with just a little guidance, you can make sleep a safe, nurturing, and incredibly healing part of baby's day and night. One of the biggest mistakes people make, especially when they're tired and just trying to get the baby to sleep, is putting the baby to sleep in the wrong position. This one is important, and in some cases, it can be life-saving. Years ago, it was common to lay babies on their tummies to sleep. Many of us were taught that it helped them sleep longer or kept them from choking if they spit up. But we now know that this is not safe. Doctors and researchers have studied this closely, and the clear, simple truth is that babies must be placed on their backs to sleep every time. Not on their stomachs. Not even on their sides. Why? Because back sleeping has been proven to reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, which usually happens during sleep. When a baby sleeps on their stomach, their airway can become blocked or their breathing can become shallow without them waking up. Back sleeping keeps their airways open and allows them to breathe more easily. So what can you do to help a baby stay safe and comfortable? Always lay them on their back, on a firm mattress with a fitted sheet, and keep the sleep surface clear of pillows, toys, loose blankets, or anything else that could cover their face or block airflow. If you're worried they might roll over, don't be. In the first few months, babies don't usually roll on their own, and once they do, you can stop repositioning them. But always start them on their back. Now, let's talk about the second mistake, keeping the room too quiet or too dark during naps. This one might feel a little strange at first, because most of us were raised to believe that quiet and dark meant good sleep. But for babies, especially newborns, it's actually okay, and even beneficial, for them to nap in a room with some light and soft background noise. Here's why. During the early months, babies don't understand the difference between night and day. Their internal clocks, or circadian rhythms, haven't developed yet. If every nap happens in total silence and darkness, it becomes harder for them to learn when nighttime really is. By letting a bit of daylight into the room and allowing some gentle noise, like a fan, the sound of people talking in the next room, or soft music, you help their little brain start connecting sleepiness with night and wakefulness with day. And that's the beginning of what will later become a more predictable sleep pattern. You don't need to blast the TV or keep the lights glaring. Just a natural environment, the way most homes sound and look during the day, can actually be the best thing for them. You're not disturbing them, you're gently helping them build healthy habits that will serve them well as they grow. And speaking of healthy habits, another mistake I've seen over and over again is letting the baby fall asleep while feeding every single time. Now, I get it. A full belly makes anyone sleepy. And there's something so precious about watching a baby drift off in your arms while nursing or bottle feeding. But here's the thing, if it becomes a pattern, the baby starts to depend on feeding as the only way to fall asleep. And that can create big challenges down the road. You see, babies are smart. They start to associate the comfort of sucking with sleep. So when they wake up in the middle of the night, as all babies do between sleep cycles, they cry, not because they're hungry, but because they want that same sensation to help them fall back asleep. That's when sleep becomes disrupted for both the baby and the caregiver. And before long, nobody's getting much rest. So what can we do differently? Try to keep baby awake during the last few minutes of a feeding. Gently tickle their feet or softly speak to them while they feed. Once they're done, take a moment to burp them and then place them in their crib or bassinet while they're drowsy, but still awake. This way, they start learning how to fall asleep on their own, without needing to be rocked, nursed, or held every time. It takes a bit of patience, but trust me, it pays off in the long run. And let's be honest here, if you're over 60 and helping with nighttime care, your energy may not be what it used to be. That's okay. You've earned your rest too. Teaching a baby to self-soothe and sleep more independently is not just good for them, it's good for you. It allows everyone in the house to breathe a little easier, rest a little longer, and enjoy those sweet moments even more. Now that we've explored how sleep position, environment, and feeding habits can impact a baby's sleep and growth, let's keep going and look at what else might be unknowingly disrupting their precious rest. And one of the most overlooked things that can quietly work against a baby's sleep, and, in turn, their growth, is inconsistency with sleep routines. Now, I know routines can sound a bit rigid, especially when every day feels unpredictable with a newborn. But babies, more than anyone, actually thrive on patterns. They don't know what time it is. They can't tell you they're tired or overstimulated. So, the only way they begin to understand what's coming next, what's safe, what's comforting, is through repetition. When bedtime looks and feels the same each night, their little bodies and brains begin to prepare themselves for rest. A soft lullaby, dimmed lights, maybe a short cuddle or a warm bath, these small signals tell the baby, it's time to wind down. Over time, even just hearing that song or being wrapped in that same sleep blanket can soothe them. But without consistency, babies become overstimulated, overtired, or confused, and that's when sleep becomes chaotic. And here's something else we don't always think about. Irregular sleep not only affects how long a baby sleeps, it affects how deeply they sleep. That deep, uninterrupted sleep is where real growth happens. It's when the body produces essential hormones that help with brain development, physical growth, and immune system function. So when babies are constantly being put down at different times or in different ways, they may still sleep, but they don't get the kind of rest that truly restores them. The beautiful part? Creating a bedtime routine doesn't need to be elaborate. In fact, the simpler, the better. A few familiar steps, repeated every night, are enough. The same blanket. The same dim light. The same quiet voice saying, "Good night." And if you're a grandparent helping with bedtime while the parents rest or step out for a break, keeping that routine consistent is a wonderful way to support not just the baby, but the entire household. Now, while we're on the subject of routines and sleep signals, there's another mistake that tends to slip in, especially during the early months, and that's letting babies stay awake for too long between naps. It's easy to assume that the longer a baby stays awake, the more tired they'll be, and the better they'll sleep later, right? That seems to make sense from an adult perspective. But with babies, the opposite is true. The longer they're awake, the more overstimulated and overtired they become. And once that overtired state sets in, it's much harder for them to fall asleep, and even harder to stay asleep. You might notice the signs without even realizing what they mean. Fussiness, clenched fists, turning their head away from your face, staring off into space, these are often signs that a baby is too tired. And by the time they're crying hard, rubbing their eyes, or arching their back, it's already become a bit of a battle. So how long is too long? Well, it varies by age, but in the early months, babies really shouldn't be awake for more than about 45 minutes to an hour at a time. That includes feeding, changing, playing, everything. After that, their bodies need to rest again. It might sound like a lot of sleeping, and it is. But that's how babies grow. Their brains are making millions of new connections every day. Their muscles, bones, and organs are all developing. Sleep isn't just a break, it's active, vital work for their bodies. And when we protect their sleep, we're giving their bodies the best chance to do that important work. And let me say this, you're not failing if the baby cries or doesn't follow the plan perfectly. No baby, and no parent, is perfect. But by watching for sleepy signs and gently guiding the baby into a restful state before they get overtired, you'll start to notice shorter crying spells, easier bedtimes, and longer naps. And if you're someone who's helping a younger family member raise a baby, your role is so valuable. You might not be getting up for every 2 a.m. feeding, but your calm presence, your life experience, your wisdom, these are like anchors during a time when everything else can feel so uncertain. Even just holding the baby while they nap or helping keep the house quiet so mom or dad can rest, those things matter. They add up. So, we've talked about sleep position, feeding routines, and now, timing between naps and consistent bedtime habits. And each one of these is connected to something deeper, the idea that we shape the environment, and that environment shapes the child. That's a powerful thought, isn't it? The choices we make each day, the little things, like keeping the lights low or offering a gentle back rub before bed, they don't just help baby sleep. They teach baby that the world is a safe, loving place. That's what leads to healthy growth, not just physically, but emotionally, too. Now, let's turn our attention to the final piece of the puzzle, something that can be especially tricky for caregivers to navigate, but has a huge impact on a baby's sleep health and development. And that piece, one that's often misunderstood but so important, is relying too much on sleep aids like swings, car seats, or strollers for naps. Now, I want to start by saying something important. This isn't about judgment. We've all been there. Baby's been fussy for hours, you're beyond exhausted, and finally, the gentle hum of the car ride or the slow rock of a swing gets them to sleep. In that moment, it feels like a miracle. And sometimes, that's what you need to get through the day. But when it becomes a habit, when baby naps happen more often in a moving seat than in a proper sleep space, that's when we start seeing problems, both for safety and for healthy sleep development. You see, those devices are designed for short-term use and usually to keep the baby safely in place while awake or in motion, not for prolonged, unsupervised sleep. When a baby falls asleep in a semi-upright position like a car seat, their head can tilt forward, and that can actually block their airway slightly. It's subtle, but it matters. Especially for younger infants who don't yet have the strength to reposition themselves. Plus, sleeping in motion keeps their body from fully relaxing. The constant movement means they don't reach the same deep stages of sleep that help with brain growth, hormone regulation, and physical repair. So while they may seem to be resting, it's not the restorative kind of sleep their body needs to grow strong and healthy. And here's the other thing, over time, babies can grow to depend on the motion to fall asleep. So when it comes time to sleep in a crib or bassinet, they fight it. They cry, they resist, and the cycle of exhaustion begins again. Now, does this mean you should never let a baby nap in the car if they fall asleep during errands? Of course not. Life happens. But whenever possible, try to prioritize sleep in a safe, flat space. A firm mattress in a crib or bassinet, no extra padding or toys, and a quiet, calm environment, these are the basics of healthy baby sleep. If they do fall asleep in a car seat or stroller, move them to a proper sleep surface as soon as you can safely do so. And here's something that's really reassuring, babies adapt. They learn quickly. The more consistent you are about helping them fall asleep in their crib, the more natural it becomes for them. They don't need fancy gadgets or motion to rest well, they need safety, routine, and your loving presence. Sometimes it's hard, especially when they cry. And if you're a grandparent or older caregiver, you might feel like it's too exhausting to resist the temptation of just letting them sleep wherever they drift off. But remember, you're helping them learn something essential. Sleep is where their growth happens. And every small step you take to support healthy sleep is a gift to that child's future. So, just to gently pull all of this together, we've talked about several habits that can harm a baby's growth during sleep without us even realizing it. Putting them in the wrong position, creating irregular routines, keeping them awake too long, or relying on movement or devices instead of safe sleep spaces. But none of these are about failure. They're about learning. Every caregiver has made one or more of these mistakes. That doesn't make you a bad parent or grandparent. It makes you human. And by choosing to learn, to grow, And to do things a little differently, you're showing up for that baby in the most powerful way possible. The truth is, we don't need to be perfect. We just need to be present. Babies don't remember whether the nursery was Pinterest-worthy or if we used the fanciest gadgets. What they remember, what shapes them, is the feeling of safety. The softness in your voice. The calm in your arms. The predictability that says, you're safe here. You can rest. So if you're watching this video as someone over 60, maybe you're a grandparent, a godparent, or even a neighbor lending a hand, you matter. Your wisdom matters. You might not be the one up at 3 a.m. every night, but your support, your encouragement, and your steady hands bring peace to that little baby's world. And that peace makes sleep and growth so much easier. And if you found anything in this video helpful, or if you've got tips from your own experience, I'd love to hear them in the comments. The world of parenting is filled with noise, but the most powerful advice often comes from people like you, people who've been through it, who've loved and raised children, and who understand that the simplest truths are often the most important ones. If this message spoke to you, feel free to give the video a thumbs up. It helps us reach more families who are just trying to do their best. And if you'd like to keep learning together, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got more gentle, practical, and uplifting tips coming your way every week. Most of all, remember this: every baby is different, and so is every caregiver. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. But if you lead with love, stay curious, and keep showing up, you're doing it right. Here's to sweet dreams, peaceful nights, and the joy of watching these tiny souls grow stronger each day. You're doing a wonderful job. Let's keep learning and growing together, one bedtime at a time.